Everybody, I just figured go ahead and make episode 6, a sharpening how-to video. There's a few different options that you can do when you're sharpening. We'll kind of go over them. What I prefer, or not really what I prefer, there's three main ones that I think that are extremely well, both cost-effective and time-effective. Let's say we'll just, on the last part of the book, we'll go ahead and touch on that real quick, and then we'll get into how they have. Okay, so we left off with the quarter round. Now we have the knife point, where you can lash it to a spear as a thrusting spear, not a throwing spear. Don't think I'd ever do that. That'd be pretty wicked though. So, also you can use the tip to drill. Hopefully you can see it. Sorry. You can drill notches for bow drill divots, stuff like that. It does work pretty good. The tip's pretty thick, pretty stout, and it says you can engrave antler or bone for like scrimshaw work. I've never used it like that. I don't know that I would ever use it like that. It's pretty big and pretty thick for that. So, and then it talks a little bit about the sheath, talking about the metal clips and stuff like that. It's pretty much the same exact sheath that I had before. There's a small little thing on the scalp companion. I'll do a review. I have one. I've had one for almost as long as I've had this. It's a really nice little blade. We'll just do kind of a review on that. And then over here is carrying for the tracker. So it kind of just goes over, just keep it oiled. It mentions the paint. Mine doesn't have paint anymore. And then it mentions keeping it oiled so it won't rust and get anything on extra water off of it, that type of thing. So off camera, it was a couple days ago. This is actually the third time I've tried to film this video. The first two didn't work real well. We're inside today because we have wind warnings of gusts of 60 miles per hour, and I don't think the camera could handle that. The camera stand, it just knock it over. I'd be fighting this book and stuff like that. So we're just gonna go ahead and do it inside today. Just kind of touch on the sharpening portion of the setup and what they recommend, and then how I do it. Also, the audio would be a lot better because it's really windy, and I'm sorry for the last video, the audio wasn't very good. I was under the impression that my AirPods automatically connected to videos. It doesn't. It does not film that. So I would, again, apologize for the mumbling and stuff. I thought that I had a mic essentially on me, but I guess I didn't. So I did try this off camera, and it does work. I think if you practice it. I tried it off camera, and I ended up making my edge worse. So that might be the reason why they took it out of the book, because maybe it doesn't work that good. But we're just going to set it here and just kind of check it out and try to do what they mention. So for the chopping portion, chopping edge is best sharpened by anchoring the knife blade up and moving the stone over the knife, rather than vice versa. The photo below shows the tracker clamped with the stone in position to begin sharpening. The rough sharpening is done by drawing the stone down the edge as shown. Sharpen one side until you can feel a burr. On that, sharpen a burr, then it changes, on the opposite side edge. That burr indicates that you have reached the midpoint of the blade. Okay, so I won't read anymore. Sorry about that. But they're saying that if you had like a chunk of wood, from the picture it looks like a log, you pin the knife down where it can't go anywhere. I'm just using this piece of 2x4, and then you would take your sharpening stone and go down the edge like so. Pretend there's not a light there, and for that side. And then they show you switching hands. So I'll be holding the knife with my right hand. Well, let's go ahead and do it real quick. I wouldn't sharpen a knife this way, because like that's completely backwards thinking. I'm not that good at anything with my left hand. And then again, sending in here and then going down the edge. I tried this, and it was worse than what I had. So, but that's how they recommend do it. The cutting edge is similar. They show it being stuck into a piece of wood. Go ahead and show you real quick. This one over here. Show it stuck into the piece of wood by the tip, like so. and then you take the stone and go along the edge. Now this isn't too bad, I suppose, if you didn't really know how to sharpen, or this looks like, because this is very safe. I mean, pretty much the entire thing is extremely safe way to sharpen. I don't believe the ways that I do it is unsafe, but this to me is probably safer. You just probably need a stump or something to stick the knife into, and then like say go around here like so, and that's how the book says to sharpen it. So that's the chopping edge, and the straight blade portion they call it the cutting edge. And it just talks about use a rough stone and then use a finer stone. It's kind of what they're illustrating here. It's pretty much the same thing. And then they are telling you using a slipstone or a sharpening rod to get inside that notch. I'll demonstrate that. Now this right here seems like a really good idea. I just kind of lay it down like so. Hopefully all that wasn't not in frame. Lift it up like so, and then just come in here and work this edge. Pretend it's a rod, diamond rod or a ceramic rod. Do that like so. Flip it over. They show you using different hands. I'll attempt it, and then you just kind of rock it up like so, and then work that edge. I think that's it. Yep. So that's it. So that's how they kind of have you maintain your edge of your tracker knife. I'll show you how I do it. And again, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, I don't make mine super sharp. And the reason is because I always have, like a Swiss Champ in my pocket, or a Mora knife. This is 15 bucks. This one's probably about 60 or 70 now, but it has a bunch of tools and gadgets, and the blades they're thin. They work really good for carving. This is it's not designed like that. It's 1/4 inch thick, and it's a chunk of steel. So again, I'll show you how I sharpen it, and I keep like a hatchet axe type edge. Now it's sharp enough that you can do stuff with it, like, oh, I hit the camera. I mean, you could shave off some small stuff. Set that there for a second. Here's just a makeshift spoon that I was building real quick, and you can use it, and it'll make curls. They're not as pretty ones, like you would with your bushcraft style knife, but it's also bigger and heavier and able to do things, in my opinion, that most bushcraft knives can't do. One, survived me for a decade. Like I say, I spare no expense when I beat on this thing. I know that I can just take it out and waylay on it and chop and chop and chop and do whatever I have to do, and it's always just going to be there with me. These are great substitute knives for doing a bunch of different stuff. I'm not knocking either one of them. I use them. That's why this one's an EDC carry for me. Like, this is what I take every single day. If I put my as soon as I put my pants on, that bad boy comes with me, and it's so useful for everyday tasks, basic everyday tasks. If I wanted to go out, then I was working in the garden, and all I want to do is just do some tomato steaks, do some stuff like that. This is a great blade. It'll do food prep. It'll do pretty much anything you want it to do. But what I'll say is, I cannot baton this through something this can go through. That's what it is. It comes down to. It's just durability. Like I say, I've had this one a decade, and I mean, other than being ugly, it's no worse for wear. So I got back into that. So again, I don't get mine super sharp. I would recommend right off the bat, get yourself a Sharpie marker. We got another one right here. So get yourself a Sharpie marker, and then mark these edges. Now, like I said, I did that. I did the what they said in the book. Tried it outside on that same stump I was chopping on, and like I didn't do a very good job. Maybe it's just because that's like the first time I've ever tried to sharpen it like that. Imagine with muscle memory, you just get better with it. But what I recommend to everybody, until you kind of get until you kind of get sharpening or these types of sharpening down, just mark your secondary edge with a marker. The light's kind of half blinding me. And then just real quick, well, this is going to be the primary edge. So is this. Give this thing a secondary to dry. This is stock up here. And then this is that secondary edge. Hopefully you can kind of see. I've marked it black. We're going to give it a second to dry. And that just shows you as you're sharpening, you're on the right space. This is a pretty wide bevel, but if you're new to sharpening, that's kind of important. So again, right off the bat, so stock thickness. So it shows up like this at tops. Then they grind in this bevel, which is the primary edge. Your Scandinavian grind, it just has this. It doesn't have a secondary bevel. All other knives, they get the first bevel. So a hollow grind, this would be the hollow part, and this would be the secondary edge. Full flat grind, this is the flat grind. The primary edge, the big slant, is the primary edge. And then it has a secondary bevel. The only one that doesn't have a secondary bevel would either be a convex. Like some axes don't have them. They don't have a secondary bevel because they just might be one sweep. So they start up here and they grind all the way down to the edge. So it's one, basically like they used to refer to it as apple seed. If you took an apple seed and kind of looked at how it's shaped, it doesn't really have, I think it looks more like a pumpkin seed if you ask me, but it just, the fat end would slope down like an egg if the egg was sharpened. So anyway, so I'm gonna have mark this for you real quick. So as I'm talking, that you don't get lost. Cause I rant, and I'll go on a rant for a minute and won't even realize I do it. So for me, the three main things that I use are slipstones, which I think is great, sandpaper, and a Sharpie. I recommend the Sharpie for everybody, but sandpaper and Sharpie will get you there. And then this toolkit here, we'll kind of break this one down. So let's just go from cheapest, right off the bat, cheapest, and the most widely available. This is wet dry sandpaper from Walmart. They come in a pretty good size sheet. I think a pack of multiple grits is like 13 bucks, I think, 15 bucks, I'm not sure. And your normal everyday Sharpie. Not only can you mark the edge like we just did, but we're going to use this to sharpen our blade. So I typically will just roll it around the Sharpie pretty tight. Now this is 800 grit. What I would recommend, this is about the oldest thing ones that I recommend for grit size is, just gonna lay them out here real quick. So that's 2000, that's my highest, 1000. I have the 800 in my hand right now, 600, and a 400. To me, I think if you, like say, so I have the 800 on the stick now. This is a pretty good thing. 400 cuts pretty fast. So you can take out any kind of nicks and stuff like that. I can't really, there we go. Hopefully you can see it all. And like I say, I have the 800. For touch-ups, typically I use the 800 because I messed my edge up outside I didn't use that stone. I was using the Smith stone and I didn't have the angles and stuff right. I messed it up a little bit, so I just went ahead and just used one of these because this will put a quick edge on it. And then this will be my polishing stage. So it does have an edge on it. It's not super razor sharp, but I'm just going to refine that. So just wrap it around there. Now you want it kind of loose. So you see I didn't get really crazy tight on there. You want it kind of loose. And if you have a burr, you can brush this way. Now if it's loose like that, you can actually sharpen on this edge. Be careful, but you can sharpen on the edge. Now if this was pulled completely tight, it would probably rip it. But this will end up probably giving you a convex edge. But a lot of people like convex edges. I typically don't like them. But if you want to maintain that kind of straight grind, this direction is the best way to do it. And like I say, so this is convexing that edge just a little bit. Like I say, I don't really care. Typically I like a flat edge better, but that's just me. So I've taken that, hopefully you can see, I've taken that Sharpie marker. That tells me where I need to touch up. So right here, I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of Sharpie still on the very edge. And I can just that off. And it'll still form a burr. I don't know if you can hear that, it's getting windy outside. And then, so then we can do this portion. So typically I start where the hook is and work my way down. If you go this way, there's a good chance you're gonna cut your paper on your hook. So this is kind of how I hold it. I don't put it on anything. I mean, you can just do this freehand. All my stuff that I use is freehand because I want to be mobile. You know, this Sharpie and a couple handful grits of sandpaper, I mean, it weighs nothing. You can fit it in your pocket, take it with you wherever you go. I know. So this is a kind of a really good on the road. You want to stay minimalistic and just stay really light, maybe for backpacking. You could also just get a piece of wood, lay this on a piece of wood. You can do quite a few different things. See people use mouse pads. Typically mouse pads will convex a little bit more than this. This is just getting it sharp, not convexing your edge. There's a bunch of videos on convexing your edge, so I'm not going to touch on it. But yeah, so I come to the primary bevel, rock up onto that secondary edge, and just with almost no pressure, I'm letting it squish, kinda, if that makes any sense. It's squishing, it's not firm. So it kind of squishes over the edge. So what it does, it doesn't just lay on the fat, it kind of rolls over to the other side just a little bit. If you're doing like the strop like this does work. It takes forever, and I don't like it. So I don't use it. I just kind of do this, and as long as your stuff is, your papers on there kind of light, you probably will never get any rips or tears. So again, just be careful. Your fingers are close to the edge. But like I say, if you want to, I've sharpened this thing for a decade, so I kind of know where to sharpen it at. But if you wanted to, we'll do it on a different one. So again, Sharpie marker, couple grits. It's, I don't know, here, you can hear it. That's just my fingernail, I'm sorry, not my fingernail, my thumbprint going off the edge. Okay, so that's one, probably the most affordable, easy to come by. You know, you go to a Walmart, Harbor Freight, they have a bunch of different grits. This stuff lasts pretty good long time. Like I said, this is, I think these are thirds or half pieces. So you could have a whole nother set of this for something else. Probably the second most cost effective and cheap. You probably have to order them because I've never seen them in store, but it can still do a really good job. And this is one of my personal favorites, are just these slip stones. So it's just a flat stone. One edge is rounder, wider than the other edge. And I really like these. It weighs more than this, but I've used it for quite a while, so I can scratch an edge on something real quick. So if I'm working on something and like chopping into it and I hit something, this will bring back the edge pretty fast, and all I got to do is just use this. So it doesn't need to be super razor sharp or anything like that. This one can get a really nice high polished edge. So if you're going to do, I don't know, food prep or something where you just want that edge just to last, or you're cutting relatively soft material, green wood, like if you get a high polish and then you get into green wood, that would do really good. Like I say, most of the stuff that I chop is like gnarly and nasty. You know, I also use my edge, like I like it kind of toothy for scraping. Excuse me, or braiding. If I had to use it to skin an animal, you kind of want that toothiness. So again, this is a slipstone. Typically you can buy them in sets. I got this one off of, the last one I just looked at was on eBay for like 25 bucks. You get 3 stones, not 2. I don't know what I did with the other one, but they typically come with a medium, the fine, and then this coarse silicone carbide. And it's pretty much, this is almost exactly the same as that. But silicone carbide, just the nature of it's a lot harder, and it cuts extremely fast. Like this is a fast cutting stone, but it doesn't leave a particularly good edge. This one kind of gets you there, you know, cuts pretty decently fast, but as you can get a good working toothy edge. This one won't give you that toothy edge, but it cuts extremely fast. And then here's one of my old ones. I like this. This is like what I use sometimes when I'm at the house, just because it's hard to find. And this is an Arkansas slipstone. It's a much wider one. I think a lot of the Norton brand stones are about this size. It's kind of big, it's kind of bulky. This one's I wouldn't say it's super rare, but you don't see them that often. You're gonna have to find old versions of them if you want, like a Smith's. I guess this is an old, it's probably like a 20 or 30-year-old stone. And it works really, really good. It's a little bit wider, so you just gotta kind of pay attention to your edge. But I'll go ahead and show you how I use slipstones. Again, it's one of my favorite. They're extremely easy to use. They cost, I say it's 25 bucks. When I bought them, they were 15 for 3, so they're like $5 a piece. These things will last forever. And I typically use them dry, but you can use them with oil or water, soapy water, spit, whatever you really want to use, doesn't really matter. It will help. It will help cutting. But if you're just going to scratch out an edge real quick, I mean, it's kind of all relative. So for this type of edge, you can just set it on the primary grind and then rock down to that edge. And I kind of like using the circular motion. Again, be careful with your fingers, because your fingers are kind of close to the edge. And you can grind out this edge right here. And they're just using the Sharpie pretty much the same way as we used it with the other one. It's just kind of cleaning that edge off, getting rid of any of this stuff, the extra metal, trying to match it on that side. So we're almost done here, just from the looks of it. And like I say, if you don't like this type of edge, I mean, maybe it's not for you, maybe you want the polished version. And then when I get done, it's got a pretty good burr. I can feel it. This will bring up a burr pretty fast. This doesn't bring up a burr super bad. This one will give you a burr fast. Like I said, I like to work out in the field, sharpen real quick, find the burr, flip back over, and then I would hold it like this, you know, and then just, and that would give me the, cut the burr there, and then I'll do a clearing motion. What that does is it just straightens that edge, straightens that burr out, and then it's pretty sharp now. Also, this size stone works really good. It fits inside here. Again, I would hold it like so, put it on the primary edge, rock it up till it gets that secondary edge, and grind. If I'm trying to flatten out the entire edge. If I'm so then I suppose I'll cut that out. They're yelling about gummy bears. So I'll just cut that out of this video, and